Welcome to the Brand and Beyond podcast. We're probably the highest value per minute podcast on brand strategy, where we explore the quiet middle between the first spark and the world stage of iconic brands. Hi, Dulith.
Hi.
So nice that you're joining with us straight after a 6-hour flight in the morning.
26.
Sorry? 26. Oh, sorry.
Come from the US.
Wow, now I appreciate it much more. So thank you for being with us, and
Sure.
we appreciate it. So what we're looking to do is, basically just dig out, if I would say, what about the brands, about the Dulith brand, the Kapruka brand, and the Java Lounge brand.
Okay.
So just getting started, can you just introduce yourself maybe to somebody who may not know? I'm sure 99% knows who Dulith is, but if you would like to introduce yourself and just give something about people who may not know about Dulith.
So I guess, to be very vulnerable, I like, let's be vulnerable on this. Okay. So it's
Perfect, yes.
It'll be fun. So I was right at the beginning when I was starting Kapruka, and when I was I didn't even know the meaning of entrepreneur, right? And
Right.
my English was very poor, and in the sense my vocabulary was not that great, in
Right.
the English vocabulary. So I was so socially anxious, and from childhood, a typical geek, want to be always behind the desk, go behind a book, go cover yourself with something that you're doing, that
Wow.
kind of a guy. And then, suddenly you became an entrepreneur, you have a company, now you have to, start recruiting people, they're going to work for you, people are calling me, on Skype and things like that. So it was really hard for me to be able to speak like this.
Wow.
And I never really thought I'll be a public-facing entrepreneur. Right?
Exactly.
That's like the last thing I would think of at that time. And it happened. And so it's a very interesting skill. I really went from like -10 to this level
Wow.
today. I used to remember now I can talk to 1,000 people on an audience.
Right.
But still, once I do that speech, let's say for 1,000 people, I'll have to go backstage.
You can't believe I did this.
No, not like that. It's like a stress relief. Like,
Oh,
give me a coffee, So it's very, I think I'm faking it really well. Like it's,
Wow, okay.
Yeah, it's hard inside, to be very casual like this because it's a struggle, but now I haven't gotten so good at it.
Great. That's excellent. So, with that change, do you feel that you had to do that change, or do you think entrepreneurship kind of got you to do that?
No, so the thing is, there are different types of entrepreneurs, right? There are business entrepreneurs. For them, it's all about making more and more profits, right? There can be a social entrepreneur. For his thing could be like, creating more and more impact.
Right.
Like, let's even take a company like this is Sarvodaya, right? Mr. A.T.R. I'm a great fan of his. He wants to create impact.
Right.
For me, I'm a innovative entrepreneur.
Right.
So when I innovate, I want to be, on the stage,
Right.
talking about it, show it off, like this is
Right.
what I created.
Right.
But with that comes the social awkwardness and all that, so it had to be fixed.
Got it. So, with all this, that backstory, you after that you started working at Dell and Microsoft, and you were in the corporate setup before you got into
Right at the
entrepreneurship.
beginning, yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So, how was that change, and was it scary or was it exciting?
Change in the sense?
From the corporate life to the entrepreneurship.
It's, what was more scary was not doing it.
Okay. Fear of missing out.
Yes. So to me, the whole e-commerce bandwagon, I was in Seattle back in those days, and I saw Amazon,
Right.
building in front of me, eBay, all these companies getting into e-commerce industry. I didn't want to miss out, and I saw like a huge opportunity in Asia.
Right.
So my country, obviously Sri Lanka. Yeah, as you said, I didn't want to miss the bus. It was more scary to miss the bus
Right.
than to get onto the bus.
Wow. Okay.
Right.
Yeah,
So it was something like that.
Right. So Kapruka started, in your bedroom.
Yeah.
Where you did the first coding. Like, you started coding it. You built it. You founded it. From your first.
It was a home broadband.
Yeah, it was.
As sort of always, the problem was the static IP, because IP would change every week. Those days, it was not possible to get a static IP.
Right.
So you have to update the DNS every once a week.
My goodness.
Yeah, go ahead.
So from that, to getting your first employee, getting your first delivery bike, to then coming to a position where you're the first Sri Lankan e-commerce brand to be listed in the stock exchange. So, in a summary, like, how was that journey? Like, if you would explain it to somebody, I know it's a long time, but how was it? Like, if you summarize and condense it into, a few sentences.
I mean, I can almost go back to my childhood guy and, kind of tell him that.
Right.
That will be probably a better way of explaining it to him. I think the first thing I would tell him is, hey, good job, you got it out of the garage. Right? That it's not easy to get it out of the garage.
Yeah, exactly.
So
making that first dollar is the challenge.
Yeah. And then also I'll tell myself that, I didn't get lost in the noise of e-commerce. Right. What I mean by that is it's very easy to become a discount shop.
Right.
It can be a price bargain because people go after transactions. How many orders? But we were like, no, what's our differentiator?
Right.
And it was a very luxury and trustworthy, trust-related, yet selling trust. So I kind of turned Kapruka into more than a product thing, into a trust-based e-commerce enterprise.
Okay.
That's why we were able to demand our certain pricing, our service levels, all those things, and became profitable, and hence the listing and all that was possible.
Right.
So again, to summarize, I go back and tell the guy, okay, good job, you got it out of the garage, and also you didn't get lost in the noise.
Right.
Because it's so easy, right? I mean,
Exactly.
because it was a fresh industry.
Yeah.
And how many offers I had people wanting to, buy shares at the early days and, throwing money, saying like, then you are like, there's so much noise.
Right.
And we were this close to, everybody convincing me to become like a coupon shop, right? So, discount. Because remember back in the days, anything.lk, wow, and all these other brands were like really going after discount.
Right.
So cutting the noise.
So staying true to yourself, that's what kind of made it one of the most profitable e-commerce sites in Sri Lanka. And also you have built your brand, like you said, where you're selling trust, and also where you have Kapruka is one of the only e-commerce brand that you have a 4 times the basket value than a normal e-commerce site, isn't it?
Yeah.
So it's that trust factor. It's about getting the right client, the right customer. So kudos to you. So
thank you. Again, summarizing it, getting it out of the garage, staying out of the noise, and still believing in the original ethos after all these years.
Right. Excellent. So recently we saw, a few months back, Kapruka had rebranded. And
yes.
So now you moved on from that, the light blue and the white.
And the tree went away.
Yeah, the tree went away. Now it's more purple, more yellow, and you have a nice smile, the curve. So can you just explain, what's the thinking behind it?
So I have to give total credit of this to my right-hand guy at Kapruka called Suresh.
Right.
So I didn't come up with this. We were just trying. We were talking about, okay, if there is something wrong here, we don't know what it is.
Okay.
Right. Because now it's harder to reconnect with certain ages.
Right.
And now it seems to be harder that Kapruka has been there for a long time. People have a mindset of, okay, these are the things they sell.
Right.
But, you would not look for a vacuum cleaner or some plasticware at Kapruka. Right. So if we are to sell them, it was a kind of uphill thing. And that's when he came up with this thing, let's rebrand it.
Right.
And
so what is the thought behind removing the tree, bringing purple, bringing the yellow, changing the fonts?
Yeah. Okay. So, when a brand or a logo is symmetrical, it's very easy to work with it. Right. So the tree really messed that up, right?
Right. It's on one side.
And then we are like, put it up there, put it down here. Like then the font is a capital K and all those problems. So those technical difficulties of the brand had to be removed.
Right. Okay.
That's a scientific part of it.
Right.
Then we want to be known as a luxury e-commerce brand, right? People who buy with us get a superb service, excellent product, so that's purple. Right. And everybody says I copied the Amazon smile. No, it's not the case. It's about, I told you, right? This is about trust.
Exactly.
So when you trust somebody, what happens? You smile.
Yeah.
Right. So that's a smile, and that gave us the cost-cutting factor about branding. Is like whenever I print a box, print a card, print receipts, anything, all I had to do is
Right.
1/2 curve, and you're your brand.
Right.
I mean, I can.
Smart. Yeah. so with this, with just a rebranding the logo and the look and the feel, the colors, was there any rebranding that you all did within the culture to support that rebrand? Like, because when it comes to a rebrand, it's much more than the colors and the fonts. So is there anything else that, that you all improved or had to change to support that?
Still is fresh.
Right.
We just done it 6 months ago.
Right.
And
So
it was extremely scary because, Sohan, it's a one-way street, right? You can't turn back after you rebrand, now make Arya, go back and go back to the old logo. It never happens, right? If it doesn't work, it doesn't work. You are screwed.
Yeah.
So we were really focused on how the customers were going to take it.
Right.
And we actually expected a dip in sales because we thought some customers will be like, oh, what is this? Is this like a counterfeit Kapruka?
Right.
Walk away from it because you're entering your credit card at the end, right?
Exactly.
And every day there's all these scams and like this is now went from that to this.
Correct.
So all that took us more focus about the customer front.
Right.
Now we will slowly start working on the employee front and when a newcomer joins, how he feels about the color and all those things.
Right.
We haven't really done any of that yet. It's still fresh.
Right.
But we are clear out of the woods now.
Okay, that's the start of the rebrand kind of a thing.
Because now it works. I mean, I know I don't have to go back and no regrets.
Right.
So now I can do the fun stuff like the vehicles and all that.
Excellent. So we got a brief understanding about Kapruka, about Java. So during a conversation, you told me that Java was basically a byproduct of you building Kapruka because with all the coffee and that you needed, and you thought, why not serve the best coffee in Sri Lanka? So how do you see Java in a sense, the brand, how it's performing and what?
Yeah, so it's similar to Kapruka, right? Now, did you expect to hear trust is the product we sell?
No.
So
Yeah.
that's the product we sell.
Right.
So even though it's e-commerce and all that, the trust is the product we sell. So
Right.
Java, just like that, you think we are selling coffee. I think, we are really brewing a space.
Creativity.
No, a space.
Okay.
It's when people, I love going to Java sometimes and just listening to the other tables, not in a creepy way, okay? Like
Got it.
you hear people brainstorming ideas, right? Napkins. And
Right.
you know how the whole coffee culture in Chicago, when it first started, it was like, people were drinking beer all the time. It was the Great Depression.
Right.
And from there, the first coffee houses came.
Right.
And people started to meet to discuss ideas.
Right.
Right. So Java is, it's really brewing these spaces for
Right.
people to meet and, that's it. So like trust at Kapruka and I guess Java is about brewing spaces.
With regards to Kapruka, if we spoke about the competition, but with regards to Java and the competition, how do you feel that the brand is performing?
So the thing is, I always, keep my eye on the customer and, ear on the road to listen to the competition.
Right.
But the eye is on the customer.
Right.
And we want to position Java with that, this is not a restaurant, this is not a coffee shop. So people, when you meet, okay, tell me, when you're meeting a friend and I'm asking, okay, go with you're not thinking about the food, right?
The time you're going to spend together.
Yeah, you're going to be like the ambience, the location, the space, the parking.
Food
is like little later. If you're hungry, you might think about it, but generally, so it's that is how I want to position it.
Right. So, with regards to what you're building, Kapruka and Dulith, the Dulith brand is known to think 2 steps ahead. When Amazon was nowhere in Sri Lanka, you brought Amazon and eBay, and currently you're working on cross-border trade as well.
Yes.
And so, can you give us an idea about that?
So what cross-border does is we take top Sri Lankan brands
Right.
that has a global demand,
Right.
and then sell them on global platforms for them.
So now we have Dilma and Link Samahan with you.
Yeah, we have a lot more.
Right.
If I mention one, then I'll forget the other one and somebody else will be mad at me. So I'll not go through a list of names.
Right.
But yeah, all the top tea brands, for example, they use us as an e-distributor.
Okay.
So what that means is, imagine you are a tea brand. You want to sell on, let's say, Walmart supermarket in the US.
Right.
What do? You call a distributor. You're not calling Walmart directly.
Correct.
Because you need to go through a distributor. That is how trade
Exactly.
works.
Yeah.
But what if you want to sell on Amazon? Who do you call? So we are that e-distributor,
Right.
right? So you call us and we will, buy your product, store it in the US, in Japan, in Australia, in UK, in Europe, anywhere that you are interested in selling,
Right.
and do all the hard wiring into Amazon.
Right. Okay.
And there's no point even talking about the other platforms. Like, we are on Walmart, we are on these other Costco's and everything, but Amazon takes a lion's share.
Right.
90% of the share, the sale is coming from Amazon, and 10% from everything else combined. But you keep it to feel good about it. Like,
Right.
yeah, Amazon pulls the plug, I still have something.
Right.
So that's what we do at Cross Border. We take Sri
Okay.
Lankan brands into the global arena.
Wow. Excellent. So I think that's something really great, and Sri Lankan brands can be really has the opportunity to go overseas, isn't it?
Yes, because the traditional retail is entirely changing, right?
Yeah.
So you can't be in supermarkets anymore. only.
Exactly. Wow. So with regards to these innovations, Dulith, is there anything that we can look forward to? Anything that's coming up on the horizon?
So it is my general approach is I want something to establish, then I kind of put it onto autopilot and go and build something else and keep doing it. That's what makes a serial entrepreneur.
Right.
And sometimes when you are doing that, you find the next idea is something that you can't do on its own. You have to like kind of build on top of something you already created.
Right.
Like for example, this whole cross-border thing.
Right.
I didn't want to call it like a cross-border company.
Right.
It really made sense to do it on top of Kapruka.
Kapruka. Correct.
So like that, you compound and build these things.
So is that what the Kapruka Petti Petti is about?
Oh yeah, Petti Petti. Good that you made. That's a brand new baby again.
Right, okay.
So Petti Petti is a, the Sri Lankans. Are you familiar with it, or can I?
Yeah,
talk? Yeah.
please,
I'll give a
please.
quick snap of it. All the Sri Lankans who are living outside of Sri Lanka sends a petti on Lanka with all the groceries, all the
petti,
cheese
yeah.
and the chocolates and it's a thing, right?
Correct.
And it's a big thing actually.
Yeah.
So it's a pretty big industry.
Correct.
And I saw a space there to innovate within it. So that's why this whole Kapruka Petti Petti been launched.
Okay.
That Sri Lankans who are living outside can now use us to send their boxes to Sri Lanka. So it's not a price thing. Why they would use us is the tracking and all the other features that be built on top of it. And we would home deliver it to any address here in Sri Lanka
Right.
once the box arrives. Because earlier, these boxes arrived on normal cargo shipments, and cargo shipments are not built for this kind of personal goods.
Right.
So there was a lot of things that we can, disassemble and fix it back in there. So I'm
Okay.
excited about it.
Yeah, I think especially the diaspora living, they would really appreciate it because
And sometimes it's just the name. Just
Okay.
calling it Petti Petti itself, like,
There's some
what, tell me
nostalgia.
more about it. If I tell a Kapruka Kag, you'll be like, it sounds boring already, right? So,
Exactly. Because they say we can leave Sri Lanka, but you can't take the Sri Lankan out of them.
yes. Yeah. You're right.
So that's excellent. So, with regards to that innovation, can we expect something from Java that you're expecting, or is it still you're in the on the table?
I think my next thing that I'm very keen on get it going is more of a global idea than it'll work in Sri Lanka. This side, I don't want to talk too much about it. I'm going to lose my thunder because it's still at a very early stage.
Right.
But it could have something to do with bathrooms.
Okay. Wow. That's a good teaser.
I don't want to say more. Yeah, it's easy if I say more.
Right. Excellent. So, with regards to we spoke about your your business brands. With regards to your personal brand, so like you said, from being an introvert, to having social anxiety, and putting yourself out there. How is it, and do you feel kind of like the tension where people associate the Dulith brand with the Java brand, or do you try to distance yourself and be a separate brand on your own? How do you manage that?
No, it's important that you disconnect as much as possible once the brand is established.
And let it grow on its own.
Yeah, because otherwise, some mistake I do or something that happens to my personal brand image can reflect both ways.
Got it.
Right? But it's also important to use it at the beginning to get your other brands going. So I think at one point you should disconnect it.
Right.
It's very hard to disconnect like
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
How many brands are in Sri Lanka that the founder is not day to day with the brand, but you're still like you put it together.
Correct, one to
that
one.
is,
Yes,
yeah.
correct. So, with all these, and if for example, let's say, okay, in another 100 years, okay, uh, maybe your great grandson, for example, sees the Kapruka brand and sees the Java brand. What would you feel proud when they look at it and think about it? What would you want them to think about it? And to think, oh, my great grandfather founded this.
What I don't, this has another side to it. Even if you talk about my kids, I don't want my success to kill their success.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Correct.
Because that when a family has success, it reflects on your kids to your grandkids to it goes all the way. But for them, like, everything is already available, so that already you killed the success in them. What could they have built if he had nothing?
Right.
So I think it's important that we create that scarcity in them in every generation, all the way to that grandkid.
So that they don't link all the successes to you, but they own their own success, kind of a thing.
Yeah. And then that grandkid would probably look like, he built that old Henry Ford kind of car, right? But now it's time to build Teslas.
Right.
So,
wow, excellent. So like you said, you let your kids, go and explore and find their own success. So
disconnect your success from your kids.
Correct. So you just dropped your kid in the US and for their internship.
Yeah. So he's like, for example, my son is just doing an internship, trying to meet the ends meet, and he's finding his car payment being very expensive. Somehow still trying to do everything on his own. So.
And he's also into entrepreneurship.
Yes, actually that's a great major.
Okay.
Now. So both my kids are doing entrepreneurship as the
was
major.
Was it their own choice, or did you like?
Totally their own choice. Yeah, I don't mess with that.
Wow. Okay.
But then, with the new AI disruption, what other major is safe? Name me one major.
Exactly.
Can you be an architect? By the time you come out, it's taken over. A doctor? You name it. Software engineer, obviously gone. So there is no more degrees that you can pick to do where there's a fail-safe guarantee of a job.
Exactly.
So entrepreneurship is like very broad, right?
Exactly.
You just come out and you can open a grocery store. You can still be an entrepreneur.
Exactly, and still because people still would need food, right?
Yeah. There you go.
So excellent. So thank you, Dulith. So I think we got a sense of the essence of the Dulith brand, the Kapruka brand, and the Java brand. So with regards to the ideas that you have in terms of where you would like to see yourself in the next, let's say, 20 years. Where would you see Dulith in the next 20 years?
To just keep seeing the next generation grow. And if you take anybody's life, they work in kind of 5-year segments. So whatever made me happy when I was 10 to 15 to in 5s, they all seem to be very different colors.
Right.
It's like a rainbow. Like, okay, here is purple, here is red, and now it's green.
Right.
So I'm seeing now, if you look at my current color, is about I love to see my team run on its own and do better than me,
right,
and surprise me with stuff. And I like to believe in it and get it right. Like, I believe. I don't think I know what he's going to do, but I believe in this kid.
Right.
And he would deliver.
Right.
So.
In closing, Dulith, so all this we're doing, to make an impact, to leave a legacy. So Dulith is also known to be, to carry a humble, be a humble person, and you see something beyond just profits. So, what kind of legacy would you like to leave behind when it's all said and done, kind of a thing?
The ultimate legacy that I've been always dreaming of was to create a unicorn out of Sri Lanka.
Right.
But that's really, that's a moonshot, right? So, but I still believe in it, and maybe the bathroom idea. Yeah. So it is important, whatever, to create a unicorn. You can't do it in this size of an economy. So whatever you create out of here has to be very globally impactful thing. So there are so many companies that has done it. If you take WhatsApp, for example, it's coming out of Ukraine, right? Okay. 2 Ukrainians wrote it.
Yeah.
and now where it is. Like we take Samsung, South Korea.
Right.
So you can't say that if
Doesn't
these
matter
things
where.
don't come out
Exactly.
of small economies. So in India is almost a dozen now of unicorns. So
Okay.
I think if I had to write down one sentence saying what I'm known to be known of is I like creating a unicorn out of Sri Lanka.
Wow. Wow.
Let's see, moonshot.
I think so. You have the ideas, you have everything and the experience. So wish you all the best for that.
Thank you.
And looking forward to seeing a unicorn coming from you. So, Dulith, thank you once again for joining us, and we appreciate your time. And so, wish you all the best. And
Thank you. This was fun, and I love these kind of questions. They're not the traditional stuff. Right?
So, thank you, Dulith, and thank you once again.
Thank you.
Hope you enjoyed this episode. So look forward to some exciting episodes ahead of us. We got some exciting personalities lined up. So stay in touch and keep in touch, and we will see you soon. See you there.